Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 93b, part 2, with the words Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Dekesiv behu asher ein bahem kol mu'um betovei mare'em maskilim bechol chachma v'yodei da'at umevinein mada v'asher koach bahem la'amod beheichal hamelech ulilamdam Sofer Lashon Kazdim. 6 virtues were ascribed to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, as it is written in their regard, youths, in whom was found no blemish, and well-favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and discerning in knowledge, and perceptive in understanding, and who had strength in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Daniel 1:4. Mai asher ein bahem kolbum Amar Rabbi Chaim bar Chanina afilu kirivda nechusilta lo havi bahu mai v'asher koach bahem la'amod beheichal hamelech. Amar Rabbi Chaim bar Chanina melamed shahayu onsin et atzman min haschok umin hasicha umin hashena umamidin al atzman b'shat shenitzarchin lenu. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the phrase, in whom was found no blemish? Rabbi Chaim bar Chanina says, even a scratch, like the wound that remains after bloodletting, was not found in them. What is the meaning of the phrase, and who had strength in them to stand in the king's palace? What strength is needed to do so? Rabbi Chaim, the son of Rabbi Chanina, says this teaches that they would force themselves to refrain from laughter and from conversation and from sleep, and would restrain themselves when they felt the urge to relieve themselves due to fear of the monarchy. Vayehi bahem mi bnei Yehuda Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Amar Rabbi Eliezer kulam mi bnei Yehuda hem. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman Yomar, Daniel mibnei Yehuda, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Mishar Shivatim. The Gemara explores more of their attributes. The verse states, now among these were, of the descendants of Yehuda, of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Daniel 1:6. Rabbi Eliezer says, they were all of the descendants of Judah. And Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, Daniel was of the descendants of Judah, and Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were the descendants of other tribes. Asher tolid yikachu hem sorisim beheichal melech Bavel. My sorisim, Rav Amar sorisim mamash. Rab Chanina Amar shenistara avodah zarah b'imehem. Isaiah prophesied to Hezekiah, and of your sons that shall issue from you, they shall be taken away, and they shall be officers, Sarisim, in the palace of king of Babylonia. Isaiah 39:7. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of Sarisim? Rav says, it means literal eunuchs, whom the Babylonians castrated to render them suitable for employment in all aspects of the king's service. And Rabbi Chanina says, it means that idol worship was emasculated during their lifetime, as it became clear to all that it lacks substance. Bishlomo leman amar shenistara avodah zarah b'imehem hainu dichtiv v'chaval lo itai behon ela leman amar sorisim mamash mai v'chaval lo yet itai behon chavla denura. And the thought that came to mind is there was an opinion that said that after their service, this is my own thought, but it says they went on, one of the meanings of the verse was that they went on to have children afterwards. They went back to Israel and had children or something like that. I'm remembering from the previous daf. Now, if according to Rav, that can't be, because if they were actual eunuchs, they wouldn't be able to have children. So anyway, this is a thought of mine. Or it would be if they were actual eunuchs, it means that they didn't actually have children. It would be a question on either side. Gemara asks, granted according to the one who says that idol worship was emasculated during their lifetime, that is, as is written, and they have no hurt. Daniel 3:25, indicating that the bodies of Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah were intact, and they were not castrated, but according to the one who says that they were literally eunuchs. What is the meaning of the phrase, and they have no mum, they have no defect? Being castrated certainly is a defect. The Gemara answers, it means that they had no hurt from the fire of the furnace, nor their bodies were not that their bodies were completely intact. The Gemara asks, but isn't it already written, nor had the odor of fire passed over them? Daniel 3:27. There was no need to repeat that. They were unaffected by fire. The Gemara answers, this means that they were neither hurt from nor the odor of fire. Okay? The Gemara asks, granted according to the one who says that idol worship was emasculated during their lifetime, that is as it is written, for so says the Lord to the Sarisim, who observe my Shabbatot, and would choose what pleases me and keep my covenant. Isaiah 56 verse 4. This verse calls them Sarisim due to their miraculous deliverance from the furnace. But according to the one who says that they were literal eunuchs, would the verse speak in denigration of the righteous? Would the verse identify Hanani, Mishael, and Azariah by their blemish rather than by their names? The Gemara answers, according to the one who says that they were literal eunuchs, both this, the physical imperfection, and that, the fact that idol worship was emasculated in their lifetime, were true concerning them. But my own question again asks on the source of the question, or the very ask. I'm asking on the asking of the question, is that in prophecy throughout the entire Bible, never names are mentioned. Like, this person will do this. No, it's always a general thing. So why would the Gemara ask that they were identified by the fact they're eunuchs, not given by name? But you never see names in terms of prophecy. I mean, you do have names. I'm thinking, it says David will be their king. That's a prophecy in the future, I guess. I guess maybe there are names, but anyway. Okay. Both this. Okay. Anyway. Bishlam Laman Damar Srisi Mamash Hainu Dichtia Beveti Vechobota Yad Vashem Tov Mibanim Umibanot. El Laman Damar Shinis Rabbi Dazara Mehem My Tov Mibanim Umibanois Amr Binachman Bar Yitzchak Mibanim Shohayu Lahem Kvaru Mesu My Shem Oilam Loi Eten Loya Sheloi Kares Amr Bitanchum Narash Bar Kapara Bitzipoiri Zeh Sefer Anish Nikra Sheloi. The Gemara asks from another perspective. Granted, according to the one who says that they were literal eunuchs, that is, as is written in the next verse, and I will give to them in my house and with my walls a memorial better than sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that should not be excised. It was Isaiah 56 verse 5. So that points to literal eunuchs. But according to the one who says that idol worship was emasculated during their lifetime, what is the meaning of the phrase better than sons and daughters? Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, it is consolation that concerning children that they already had and who died, that they would also be memorialized. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the phrase, an everlasting name that shall not be excised? Rabbi Tanchum says that Bar Kaparatat and Tzipori, this is referring to the book of Daniel, which is called by his name, Mechdi. Let us see. Okay. Apropos books of the Bible named for a prominent person, the Gemara asks. Now, okay, Mechti. with regard to all the matters of the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, son of Hilkiah, and said them and wrote most of them. With regard to Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah, what is the reason that the book is not called by his name? Wait a minute, it is called by his name, is it not? With regard to Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah, what is the reason the book is not called by his name? There is a book called Nehemiah. I'm not sure what it means. Maybe back then it wasn't. Over the course of many generations, extending many years after the Talmudic period. Here, they addressed that here. Back in that day, they didn't have Ezra and Nehemiah. It was just the whole thing was called Ezra. Over the course of many generations, extending many years after the Talmudic period, the book that today is named for Nehemiah was not a separate book and was included in the book of Ezra. So now they're asking, why wasn't they have their own book? Omer Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba mipnei she'achzik toiv la'atzmoi shene'emar zachar li Elohei toivo David nami me'emar amar zachrani Adonai beratzon amecha pagneni mishwatecha David rachmehu de'kavai. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba says the book was not named for Nehemiah because he took credit for himself and boasted about his good deeds. But wait a minute, he has his own book now, so if there's no time in heaven, and eventually he will have his own book, and this reason doesn't stand anymore. Or maybe, he received embarrassment for this thing, and it was counteracted. Maybe he did boast, and then for a certain amount of time, maybe that was exactly it. Maybe he did boast about his good deeds, and for a certain period of time didn't have his name, but eventually he did the time. It is stated, "Remember me, O God, for good." Nehemiah 13:31. That's a good Dvar Torah. He actually quotes a verse to say why Nehemiah doesn't have its own book. But in the end of the day, he does have his own book. But he's using a verse to quote it, to prove it. Remember me, O God, for good. Zachra li Elohai litova. Right? Remember me now for good. Nehemiah 13:31. The Gemara asks, is that a shortcoming? King David also said, "Remember me, Lord, when you show favor to your people. Visit me with your salvation." Psalms 106, verse 4. The Gemara answers, David was asking for compassion and formulated his words as a prayer. Nehemiah stated them as a fact and a demand. But the truth is that Nehemiah does have his own book. So even though they didn't have it at that time, what's bound in earth is bound in heaven and vice versa. So at the end of the day, he does have his own book. So this reasoning doesn't hold up now because he has his own book. It's a good question. Rav Yosef Amar, you know what? We should call that good questions. This is called my file of good questions, Good questions. Good questions. It's a good question. Rav Yosef Amar, mipnei shesiber b'genusin shel rishonim, shene'emar v'apachles rishonim, asher lo lifnei chavidu al ha'am yikhu mehem b'lechem yayin achar kesef shkalim 40 v'gomer v'af al Daniel shegadol mimenu siper. Rav Yosef says that Nehemiah was punished because he spoke in denigration of his predecessors, as it is stated, but the former governors who were before me placed burdens upon the people, and he took from them for bread and wine beyond 40 shekels of silver. Even their servants ruled over the people, but I did not do so, due to the fear of God. Nehemiah 5:15, and he related these disparaging statements even about Daniel, who was greater than he was. Again, Nehemiah at the end of the day has his own book now. So they were only commenting on the reality up until their point. But at the end of the day, if he has his own book and it's established in Israel, Minhag Yisrael Din, and it becomes a part of the greater Klal Yisrael, yeah. ומנהלן דגדלה ממנו דכתיב וראיתי אני דניאל לבדי את המראה ואנשים אשר היו עמי לא יראו את מראי אבל חרדה גדולה נפתליהם יברכו בהיחווה ואנשים אשר היו עמי לא ראו את המראה ומה ענינו אנשים אמר רבי ירמיה ביתמה רבי חייא בר אבא זה חגי זכריה ומלאכי. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive that Daniel was greater than he was? The Gemara answers, it is derived from a verse as it is written, and I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, and the men who were with me did not see the vision. But a great trembling fell upon them, and they fled to hide. Daniel 10, verse 7. The Gemara asks, and the men who were with me did not see the vision. And who were these men? Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some say Rabbi Chiya bar Abba says, that this is referring to Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, who were with him and did not see. Evidently, Daniel was greater than these prophets, and all the more so he was greater than Nehemiah, who was never privileged to prophesy.